Sam Altman just testified under oath that Elon Musk, one of the most powerful men on the planet, once considered handing OpenAI over to his own children. Let that sink in for a second. The company that is now at the absolute center of the AI revolution, the organization valued in the hundreds of billions of dollars, was nearly treated like a family heirloom. Altman described the conversation as, and I quote, particularly hair-raising. This came out this week in the ongoing legal battle between Musk and OpenAI, a lawsuit that just keeps delivering bombshell after bombshell. Musk originally co-founded OpenAI as a nonprofit back in 2015, then walked away, and has since spent years publicly torching the organization, accusing it of betraying its founding mission, of going commercial when it promised to stay open and safe. But now, we are learning the internal conversations were even wilder than anyone imagined. Musk apparently floated the idea of transferring control of OpenAI to his children during some point in the organization's early history. Altman's testimony paints a picture of a co-founder who was erratic, possessive, and deeply conflicted about what OpenAI should become, and who should ultimately control it. This is not just legal drama for the sake of it. The stakes here are enormous. Musk has his own AI company, xAI, which builds Grok. He has every incentive to damage OpenAI's reputation, slow its momentum, and peel away public trust. Every piece of testimony like this is a weapon in that war. But here is the twist. By making these revelations public, Altman is also showing the world exactly what kind of chaos OpenAI had to survive to get where it is today. It is a flex disguised as a legal defense. The trial is ongoing, and we are almost certainly not done with the surprises. Buckle up, because the Musk versus Altman saga just entered a completely new chapter. Most people were too distracted by the courtroom fireworks to notice what Google and SpaceX have apparently been quietly planning, and it is arguably the most ambitious infrastructure play in the history of the internet. According to a report that dropped this week, Google and SpaceX are in active talks to build data centers in orbit, not on the edge of a city, not in a cold Nordic country for cheap cooling, in actual space. The pitch is that orbital data centers could serve as the backbone for next-generation AI compute, positioned above the Earth to serve global demand without the geographic bottlenecks of ground-based infrastructure. Now, before you dismiss this as science fiction, consider the context. SpaceX already operates Starlink, the largest satellite constellation ever built. Google has been one of the most aggressive investors in custom AI silicon and cloud infrastructure on the planet. When these two entities sit down to talk about data centers, it is not a casual brainstorm. It is a serious engineering and business conversation backed by billions in existing capability. The report acknowledges that costs right now are dramatically higher than ground-based alternatives, but that is almost beside the point. The companies investing in orbital compute today are buying positioning for a future where latency, energy access, and geopolitical data sovereignty make space an attractive option. Think about it this way: if a country can threaten to shut down or seize a data center on its soil, that leverage disappears the moment that infrastructure is floating 400 kilometers above anyone's jurisdiction. There is a geopolitical logic here that goes way beyond cooling costs. And this is where it gets really interesting from an AI angle. The compute demands of frontier AI models are growing at a pace that is genuinely difficult to serve with traditional data center expansion. Land is scarce. Power grids are strained. Water for cooling is a resource under pressure globally. Orbital infrastructure sidesteps many of these constraints simultaneously. It is bold, it is expensive, it is early, but the fact that Google and SpaceX are even having this conversation tells you everything about how the AI infrastructure arms race has evolved. We are no longer just talking about who builds the best chip. We are talking about who owns the sky. The layoff wave is not slowing down, and this week it became impossible to ignore. Cloudflare, Coinbase, Upwork companies across very different sectors of tech all announced significant workforce reductions this week, and every single one of them pointed to the same reason: AI. The phrase AI native is now being used as corporate cover for mass job cuts, and it is accelerating faster than most analysts predicted even 6 months ago. Upwork is particularly striking here, because Upwork is literally a platform that exists to connect freelancers with companies needing work done. The fact that Upwork itself is cutting staff, because AI can now handle tasks that its marketplace was built around, is a genuinely historic signal. When the middleman for human labor is being disrupted by the technology its customers are using instead of hiring humans, you are watching a structural economic shift in real time. Meanwhile, in India, the stock market had a brutal week. Infosys and TCS, two of the largest IT services companies on Earth, both crashed to fresh 52-week lows. The direct trigger was the intensifying push from OpenAI and others into enterprise AI deployment. The fear among investors is straightforward. If AI can do the software development, testing, maintenance, and customer service work that Indian IT outsourcing firms have built $100 billion businesses around, the demand for those services collapses. We are talking about an industry that employs millions of people. This is not abstract disruption. It is beginning to show up in stock prices and balance sheets. Now pivot to quantum, because D-Wave dropped its Q1 2026 results this week, and they are genuinely jaw-dropping. Quarterly bookings hit $33.4 million, up nearly 2,000% year-over-year. 2,000%. The company's cash position grew 93% year-over-year to $588 million. Quantum computing has long been the technology that was always 10 years away, but D-Wave's commercial momentum suggests that for certain optimization problems, quantum advantage is already here, and companies are paying for it. The AI compute race now has a third dimension. It is not just CPUs and GPUs anymore. Quantum is entering the conversation with real revenue to back it up. And finally, Anthropic dropped a warning this week that most people completely missed. The company put out a notice telling investors to be wary of secondary market platforms offering access to Anthropic shares. They named 8 specific companies, including Forge Global, Hive, and Sidecar, as unauthorized to facilitate trading in its equity. This is significant because it tells you how hot Anthropic's secondary market has become. When a private company has to publicly warn people that unauthorized brokers are trying to sell access to its stock, that is a measure of just how intense the demand is among investors trying to get exposure before any potential IPO. This week's tool is Perplexity AI, and if you're still Googling things like it is 2019, you are leaving an enormous amount of value on the table. Perplexity is an AI-powered answer engine. Think of it as a search engine that actually reads the sources for you and synthesizes a direct, cited answer instead of dumping 10 blue links on you and wishing you luck. It is free to start, with a pro tier for heavier users. Here is a concrete use case. Say you are trying to understand what is actually happening with the Musk versus OpenAI lawsuit this week, the exact story we just covered. Instead of bouncing between 5 different news articles and trying to reconcile conflicting details yourself, you open Perplexity, type your question in plain English, and within seconds you get a clean summary with citations from primary sources. It pulls from live web data, so it is current. It shows you exactly where each claim comes from, so you can verify. And it lets you ask follow-up questions in a conversational thread, so you can go deeper on any detail without starting over. This is particularly powerful for anyone who needs to stay on top of fast-moving industries: finance, law, AI, politics. The Pro version adds features like file uploads, deeper research modes, and access to more powerful underlying models. But even on the free tier, Perplexity replaces hours of manual research every single week for anyone who uses it properly. It is one of the most underrated AI tools available right now, and most people still have not touched it. Go to Perplexity AI right now and ask it anything. You will not go back. If you thought this was wild, you need to see what Google dropped last week with its AI agent infrastructure. The video is on your screen right now.